Me, I put myself back in the ranks with humanity. For a number of years, I had falsely uplifted myself as if I was better than humanity or above humanity in a plane of existence that other people had not reached. The truth of the matter is I'm on the same plane as everybody else. And the only person I need to be taking a microscope and magnifying flaws is myself. I've been taking a look at the person I was identifying with for the last 4 years, and I don't like that person. It ain't about nobody else. It's about I didn't like me no more. I didn't like who I was becoming. I wasn't screaming at nobody in the phone. I was screaming at myself. I didn't have an issue with nobody making videos. I didn't have an issue with nobody calling the police. I didn't have an issue with nobody leaving comments. I had an issue with myself. I didn't like the person I was becoming. And when you get to that point, when you can't stand your own self, that's when you know you've truly arrived. It don't matter what I was talking about. I didn't like me. I look at that person just like y'all did. I look back at that person. I look at myself and say, I don't like that person either. So it's not hard to comprehend why people didn't like the character or the identity I had previously assumed, because I don't like that character. I don't like that identity. The good thing about life is that you can change at any moment. All it takes is a decision. I don't like screaming in the phone. I don't like cursing people out. Ain't nothing wrong with black women. Black women ain't my enemy. Women do have their own mind. Women are not inferior to me. White people ain't my enemy. The government ain't my enemy. When I look back at every faculty of my life, I find myself as the primary enemy in my life. There was only one person stopping me. There was only one person getting on my nerves. There was only one person I hated. There was only one person standing in my way, and that was me. I don't have no enemy. I don't have nothing or no one against me. One thing I don't like is the lack of accountability. I don't have time to be pointing the finger at somebody else or another group of people saying that they're the problem, saying something's wrong with them, something's wrong with you. I took a step back and I adjusted my lens and I look at everything that's wrong with me. Because I only have one person I gotta fix, me. There's only one person that needs to be the change in the world. That's me. There's only one person that needs to do the right thing. That's me. The do as I say, not as I do leader is bound to fail. People are not inspired by what you say. They're inspired by what you do. The greatest leader is the leaders whose actions complement his statements, his or her statements. And over this past week, the past couple of weeks, I've been dismantling a cage that I found myself locked in. Relying upon somebody else's interpretation of reality, only to come to the realization that this person's interpretation of reality is stemming from their childhood. Why am I taking relationship advice from somebody who has no successful relationship to show? Why am I taking parenting advice from somebody who doesn't even have their children? Why am I taking family advice from somebody who never had one? I feel like I got close to the worst person I ever met in my life, only to show me why you never want to be like that. And I thank everybody who I've ever met in my life, not only those who have shown me how to be, but also those who have shown me how not to be. Thank you for showing me how not to treat people. Thank you for showing me the leader not to be. Thank you for showing me how to not treat women. Thank you for showing me how not to view the world. And I wasn't gonna say anything. I was gonna leave it alone. But it's necessary. I have nothing to defend. I have nothing to hide. But I want to make this not just about me, but I want to make this about everybody who have experienced something similar. It may seem as if the situation I was in is different than something you may have been in, but there's core principles that apply to everybody's life in some manner. I allowed, what I thought people was going to say about me in and out of the cult, but I don't care no more. I'm going to say what I need to say as much as I need to say it for me. And I'm open to answer anybody's questions, honestly, because I've lied for so long. And I would be helping you while you're simultaneously helping me with potential questions that I may not have considered. Because even though I've been gone since the end of September, there's things I want to share this with y'all. I've seen certain videos that I forgot happened. I've actually watched certain videos and actually listened to them thoroughly. And I look at myself and I was like, I can't believe I actually went for this. And what I realized is that when people want to believe in something so much, they will literally remove logic and reason from the picture, because logic and reason actually dismantle their belief. And I looked at myself and I was like, how did you not see this? And for y'all who weren't so close and involved in the cult atmosphere, I'm finally seeing what y'all have seen this whole time. I've went back and listened to Kayla's and Jayon's videos, and I'm like, you're not saying anything. I've went back and watched some of my own videos, and I'm like, we're not saying anything. We're not even connected to what we're saying. We're just repeating the same generalized statements over and over again, as if we're trying to remember a script, rather than speaking something that is actually coming from an honest space. And for those of you who have been watching for a number of years, it's a shock to me, because I'm just now seeing what you've seen. And I don't know if y'all can put yourself in that position And I know it may be something that you may not be able to fully understand because you weren't directly involved, but it is a very strange experience for me to actually listen for the first time rather than trying to remember and recite. I've been remembering and reciting for more than 4 years. And for the first time, I'm finally listening. And I realize we wasn't saying anything. And I'm no longer cursing. I'm no longer using profanity because I want to broaden my audience. I don't want people to be, repulsed by what I'm saying because profanity is actually a deterrent for some people. And I feel like the example I want to set, not only for my son, but for those who may be watching me. So somebody's watching me right now. I could be affecting their life. And I know that. And I believe that. And the example I want to set for my son and those who are watching me is, I want to use an extensive vocabulary. I want to show a level of intelligence beyond profanity. But for those of you who are listening, for those of you who understand that I want to let y'all know, first of all, it's my duty and my obligation to let y'all know what was going on in that environment. We was not acting. There is no actors. There's no actors. Nobody's acting. Y'all ain't crazy. Y'all are not crazy. What you saw, what you think is going on over there is what's going on over there. I don't have to lie. I don't have to defend. The women that are still there are reading from a script. How do I know? Because I did the script better than anybody there. They're not connected to what they're saying. They're not using their own ability to think because they're under the impression that women don't have their own mind. When women do have their own mind. It is only men who are inferior in themselves that need to make women feel inferior to them. So that it is only a man who is insecure that needs to bring somebody else down to make themselves feel better. I know that script better than anybody. I'm realizing that everything we said as far as this world being hell is because that's where we were. The reason I told y'all that y'all was in hell is because that's where I was. Somebody who loves themselves doesn't have to keep saying it. That was my thing. We were trying to convince, who were we trying to convince? Y'all or ourselves that we loved ourselves? Somebody who's healthy doesn't have to tell you they're healthy because you can see it in everything they do. Somebody who's happy doesn't have to tell you they're happy. It's in everything that they do. The reason we get on camera over and over again is because we're trying to convince you of something that's not happening, rather than just showing you what we're doing and letting that speak for itself. The reason there's so much talking is because there was no doing. How do I know? I was there. Was talking about white supremacy, yet we were beating and abusing our own people. So I'm trying to understand, is white supremacy a problem? Or do we just want to beat our own people? Do we want to kill our own people as long as nobody else is killing us, it's okay. As long as nobody else is beating us, it's okay. How are we any better than the white man? Because by displaying his characteristics. How are we going to say, don't go out here and work for the government, but demand your donations? Y'all have to understand. I defended a lie for 4 years with everything that I had, because that's the type of person that I am. I go so hard that it's hard for me to come out. So y'all have to understand that I'm literally going against the momentum of something that I gave 110% to. And I appreciate everybody, those who mock it, those who participate in whatever form you participate in. I appreciate it. I will say that the turning point, because everybody in the group has doubts. Everybody in the group questions the things that we were told. But people would tuck them away. Because we started realizing that going against the cult leader was accompanied by negative consequences, whether that be isolation, whether that be standing in the corner, whether that be placed in a lower position amongst the group. So you learn to tuck away those opposing thoughts, and you begin to just become cooperative to maintain your stance amongst the group. But when he went to jail, when the cult leader went to jail, it created a gap in which you had to fill in that gap with your own mind, because you were not engaged in meaningless activities for 12 hours a day. So because the cult leader's ability to control had been minimized, your ability to think for yourself began to grow gradually. And it was in those spaces where the cult leader wasn't allowed to talk that I began to reactivate my own logic and reason, not of anything new, but things that I had tucked away began to rise. And there was no distractions or any consequences present that would prevent me from going into those thoughts completely. So the main turning point was when he went to jail, because him going to jail was also accompanied by his lack of control and influence. So when his influence was removed, my own influence began to take its place. So April the 14th was a major turning point for all of the cult members and their ability to trust in themselves once again. Did any of the girls there ever talk to you about leaving after the cult leader got arrested? No, because they knew that I would report them, because, you know, I was considered at one time the top soldier. So they knew that if they expressed any notion of wanting to leave to me, that I was going to immediately report that and request that they be sent home. So they would not, absolutely not, express anything of that nature to me in the position that I held at the time. But those women, every woman there, especially Tanisha has even ran away multiple times. Every woman there has left, or matter of fact, every woman there has left. Now that I think about it, every woman there has left. What made it different this time is the degree of the length that he was in jail. When he was in Nicaragua, we was in a foreign country. So it wasn't so easy for us to just up and leave. Because when you're in a foreign country and nobody around you looks like you, you tend to latch on to those people who do look like you and those people who you are familiar with that much more. So him going to jail in Nicaragua actually brought us closer because, I mean, it's Nicaragua and we're African American and it's a primary Spanish speaking country. So you're going to come closer to those who you can relate to under those circumstances. And he was only locked up for 3 weeks. That wasn't nothing. When we was in Hawaii, that was only 5 days. That wasn't nothing. But this time, we're creating windows, months in length, weeks and weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon months. So whereas those other times did not allow us the opportunity to really look at what we're doing, this time really allowed us to see what we were doing, not to mention that we weren't in a foreign country or overseas during this time. We were right here in Atlanta. So the circumstances were very different in comparison to what had happened previously. So that was a great question. Why do you think Malia and them are still there? Now, here's the thing I want y'all to understand. I will not speak on behalf of somebody else because their story is their story, and I will never try to take ownership of somebody else's story. So anything that I give you will only be speculation depending upon how I felt in the same situation that they're currently in. But the absolute truth of how Tanisha's feeling, how Portia's feeling, how Jayon is feeling, and how Kayla's feeling is I will leave that to them. And when they finally come to terms within themselves, because y'all tried to tell me what was going on, but I had to come to terms with myself. So when they come to terms with themselves, it's going to be a beautiful story to finally hear how they actually felt, even though we can speculate and come to some type of understanding of how they would felt just using human empathy. I want to respect their story and leave the absolute truth of how they feel and how they felt to them when they finally take the platform and release that negative experience that is unique to them. But I will say, from my understanding, that the reason that Tanisha and the other women are there is because they feel like they don't have any other options. They feel like they've invested themselves into something to the point where they're going to look foolish. They think they're going to look foolish. They're afraid of the backlash, not just online, but from their family. They think in their mind that they're going to look like absolute idiots going that hard for something only to say that I don't agree with this no more, or I don't want to be here no more. There's certain mantras in their head that have been recited over and over again that they have yet to move past. They think that this reality is real. They think that the world is hell, but the reason they think that it's hell because they're in hell right now in the space that they're in. So people who are demonic and people who are in a state of hell will project that narrative onto everything and everyone else. They're saying things like most women, but they don't know most women. They're saying things like white supremacy and the government, but they don't even have any experience in the world. They're not even 25 yet. Except for Portia, but the other women, they don't have any real experience in the world. So they're taking somebody else's broken interpretation. And here's a narrative I want to share with y'all. I feel like the cult leader's resentment towards white supremacy and the white man stems from his sexual abuse that he received from a white man as a child. I feel like he's projecting his hatred onto white men with his early experiences of molestation from a white man. I feel like he's projecting his hatred of black women and displaying his disconnection from black women because of never having a real connection with a black woman, because he never knew his mother, and his in his involvement with women has been based in the sex industry, when that is not even real connection, because the only reason you're connecting with these women is because they're paying you. So I feel like those women are living in the world of a broken man's mind, not realizing that that is not the mindset that you want to adopt, because there's actually humans out here who are doing the things that we're talking about other people need to be done, while simultaneously not doing anything but getting on camera and telling you you need to do it. If you want to know what we was doing for 4 years, we was telling y'all what y'all needed to do without doing it ourselves. But when you come outside of that box, you realize there's people out here planting trees. There's people out here building villages. There's black couples all on the internet kissing each other, hugging each other, loving each other. There's plenty of white people that ain't on that black and white time. So while we're sitting up here telling the world what it needs to do from our little bitty limited perspective, there's actually people doing the real work, the work. And the reason why we go so hard trying to speak and convince is because of our deep-seated understanding that we ain't doing nothing. So let's go hard on the camera and convince people that we doing something, or convince people that they need to do something, because we know behind this camera we ain't doing nothing. So let's go out our way to make it look like we doing something. How do I feel about other members starting a new carbonation? I feel like a Jew that experienced the Holocaust would never want to start a new Nazi party. I feel like a slave that made it off of the plantation would not have the desire to become a slave master themselves. I feel like when somebody has a true understanding of what happened to them, they would not have the motive to recreate that experience in any form. But I'm just going to say, for me, I don't have no desire to recreate an experience that I no longer want to be a part of. I just know that that cult leader he don't need to be around nobody as a safety feature. You know how your car have safety features? How things that are dangerous have safety features? He don't need to be around people because he doesn't have any experiences on how to properly connect with people, because his whole life has been disconnected. You can't expect somebody who has never been shown a real connection to know how to display that to somebody else. And I'm not mad at him for that. I just can't be around you. And the narcissistic personality disorder starts to creep in when they think that it's about them. You are a danger to people. So I can't be around you. And I recommend that you don't be around people. I don't want you to die. I don't want nothing bad to happen to the cult leader. I just don't want him to be in a space where he can continue to hurt people and harm people because he's not aware. You have to understand. You have to understand you don't need to be around people, man. That's it. You just don't need to be around people, man, until you understand how to connect to people. I always ask myself, why was I taking relationship advice from somebody who has a lengthy line of unsuccessful relationships prior to and after the development of the cult? Why am I taking parenting advice from somebody who doesn't have their kids? Why am I taking family advice from somebody who never had one? I should have been more thorough in my investigation, and I came to this conclusion. The reason. I want to pinpoint me. I want to pinpoint me. Why did I go out there? Why did I go out there? That's the grand question. Why did I go out there? I ran from myself. I let the fear of not knowing what I was gonna do with my life caused me to make an impulsive decision. I had just got out of the military. And I allowed the fear in my own mind plague me. What are you going to do with your life now? What you going to do? You got to do something. You can't sit up in your grandma's house. You can't do this, can't do that. So I threw myself into something without really taking the time to understand what I was throwing myself into. Because I threw myself into the military. It worked out. I threw myself into the military because I knew I couldn't work a 9 to 5. And I had dropped out of college. So I threw myself into the military. I figured it out. So I threw myself into something that I thought was the right thing to do without investigating the person that I was getting involved with. So it was a bad relationship decision on my part. But it's also my duty and obligation to prevent other people from getting involved, not just with this person, but people who display these behaviors. Don't let nobody talk to you any kind of way. Don't let nobody do you any kind of way. Don't let nobody treat you any kind of way, because you got to understand, to allow that type of treatment showed me low self-esteem in myself. I'm glad I seen it, so now I can do something about it. Don't let nobody do you any kind of way, man. I don't care if you ain't graduated school. I don't care if you got 3, 4 kids. I don't care if you drive a Honda Accord. I don't care. Don't let nobody do you any kind of way, man. Because when you see a baby, you don't think, do that baby need to prove something to you? Does that baby need to prove that it's deserving of love? Or is it a natural compulsion from a healthy human being to give that baby love? You are that same baby. Your worthiness did not decrease because you got taller and because your arms got longer and because you got facial hair and your voice changed. The moment you got here, the moment you see a little baby, first thing you want to do is give that baby love if you're a healthy human being. And that worthiness, don't let the world put a finger in your face and say you're not deserving of that same love because you didn't graduate from school, because you ain't making enough money, you ain't driving the right car, you ain't got the right amount of clothes. Don't let nobody do that to you. I don't care if you got 4 baby daddies. Don't let nobody do you any kind of way. I don't care if your head nappy. I don't care if you bald head. I don't care if you fat. I don't care. I don't care if you live in a trailer. I don't care if you work at Dairy Queen. Don't let nobody treat you any kind of way, and don't let nobody convince you that you gotta earn something that you come here deserving as a human being. Every single body, Down syndrome, ADHD, autistic, I don't care what you are. Every single person deserves love just by being here. Ain't nothing weak about being compassionate. Ain't nothing weak about being gentle with your kids or your woman. Ain't nothing weak about that. Ain't nothing alpha about being a bully. Ain't nothing alpha about that. The need to act tough is only confirmation of how weak you actually are. Do you miss the ex-members who, or you probably meant say, do you miss the ex-members who were there Do you miss the ex-members? Was there a family bond there? Or have you disconnected from them emotionally as well? It's impossible to really say I miss anybody because I don't know who they were. Because we spent so much time faking it and trying to uphold the characters that we were assigned to play. So it is hard to say, do I miss somebody? Because none of us were actually there. Aaron wasn't there. Ishmael wasn't there. We would see hints of who we actually were come out, but nobody was able to fully be themselves, because fully being yourselves was not cohesive with that environment. I wish the best for everybody. I know it might look crazy, but I still hold a space of understanding for everybody. Courtney, Velvet, Armand, Ishmael, Dalen, everybody. I wish them the best. I don't feel like a reunion is the best thing we should do, because each person's healing process is going to look different. I want you to go out there and heal, man. That's it. And I don't have to be a part of that. If you understand what I'm saying? I don't have to be a part of that directly. Like, we don't have to, but I want everybody to say their piece. Ishmael, if you watching this, let people know how you felt about 2 abortions, man. I'm not holding nothing no more. I'm not holding back no more, man. I was afraid of what people might say online. I was afraid of the backlash I might get from the cult. But I want Ishmael, Armand, talk about how you talk about your piece. You don't have to, bro, because you can not say nothing, and you can do your own therapy in private. But I'm just saying, bro, this just from me. You understand? Ishmael, talk about them 2 abortions and how that made you feel, man. Because Kayla ain't gonna do it. It's still there. Kayla gonna have to face that. Jayon gonna have to really talk about how she felt about drinking while she was pregnant. She gonna have to really talk about how she felt about losing that baby. Cause that script you had to read, it's not real. Armand, tell people how you felt about not being able to see your son. Everybody, it's so many stories that need to be told, and if they don't feel comfortable telling them, that's fine. But it's so many angles. It's so many pieces to the puzzle that'll be really refreshing on their behalf to just get it out. To just get it out. I know we got online and we went hard. We yelled. We screamed. We made ourselves look stupid. We allowed ourselves to be embarrassed and humiliated. But the thing about it is, y'all, we ain't dead. We ain't dead, y'all. And the truth of the matter is, even though we was online with it, can't nobody point no finger at us, man. Because guess what? There's 28 years of my life that wasn't online. So the truth of the matter is that people is only getting a small peek of who they think I am. And who people think I am is typically a byproduct of who they are. So I don't have I'm free, man. And I can finally say that without lying. I'm free to be me. And I don't have to cuss nobody out to prove that. I don't have to tell nobody what they need to do or hype myself up to be something that I'm not to do that. There was no, Carbonation don't have no teachings. There's no teachings in Carbonation. If you look at what we was talking about, we was just talking. If you're not teaching people how to be human and connect to other human beings, what are you teaching? There was no teachings. There was Google searches and statements being made. There was no teachings. There was no teachings. There was somebody who beat me to Google. Come to find out, a lot of the things that we were so-called teaching had already been said before by somebody else in whatever form. And if you notice, how do we have teachings when those things can be disregarded, applied, and denied at any moment? Those aren't teachings. Teachings are things that you live by and you stand on. In one moment, we're teaching that smoke doesn't belong in the body, but we're smoking Black and Milds and weed off camera and on camera. I don't recall any specific moments of him being mean or aggressive to Ja, but saying things like, because here's the thing, you notice that at one point we were saying that it takes a village to raise a child and that the child belongs to the village. Then the narrative flipped because of how the women began taking to Ja. All of the women loved Ja because he's a baby. That's what normal humans like, babies. I looked at Nubia as my daughter. It wasn't Dalen's daughter. Nubia was my daughter. Tori and Dalen could leave Nubia in the room with me and Kendra and know that Nubia was gonna be straight. They didn't have to ask us. They could just leave because that was my daughter. Nubia's well-being was my responsibility. That makes sense. Then the narrative shifted to, oh, that's your son. And I don't like other men's children. So with that understanding, I know that this person does not care about my child. Do I remember any instances of him being mean or aggressive directly towards Ja? No. But those types of statements insinuate that this child is now not the tribe's responsibility, but my responsibility. And anybody that says that they don't care about another man's child, well, then I'm included in that. And y'all got to understand, a lot of times when the cult leader was talking, we would tune out because we're just trying to get to Solar Noon, or we trying to go to the bathroom. We ain't trying to go back and forth with this dude, because going back and forth with the cult leader is going to prolong the meeting, and we only have but a limited amount of time to ourselves. So we would just nod and agree to hopefully end the talking as quickly as possible so that we can return back to the minimal amount of time that we actually did have to ourselves. He was the only idiot bold enough to do such stupid things online in real time. And people were almost in disbelief that not only would somebody do and say these things, but record them in real time. How was he staying up so long? I feel like the cult leader, this is speculation. Listen, one of the flaws of our group is that we were proclaiming ourselves to be something that we had no training in. We were just going to Google and watching YouTube videos and saying, haha, here you go, we're right. I'm not a certified therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I can only speculate. So here's my speculation about the cult leader. I feel like the cult leader and his need for attention is a byproduct of not receiving the appropriate attention as a child. And he was addicted to the attention, so therefore he could stay on the phone for hours, and he wasn't doing any strenuous activity or any labor, so his energy levels were much higher than those around him. So when you're addicted to attention, you will stay up in the same manner as a crackhead. That's why crackheads don't go to sleep. That's why heroin addicts or people who on pills, they don't go to sleep, because they have to feed their addiction. And I consider the cult leaders need for attention to be an addiction, and he was supplementing that addiction by being on social media. So a part of the reason why things escalated is because he noticed that as he escalated, he could maintain the attention that he so desperately needed. And I'm no longer talking or speaking the narrative that we don't need schools and that we don't need hospitals, because we sure needed a hospital when Velvet was about to deliver that baby. We sure needed a hospital when the side of your face looked like you had swallowed a baseball. We picked and choose how we wanted to use the system or be in the system while simultaneously demoting the system. But the cult leader could stay up so long to get his fix. He never got attention as a child, and any attention that he got moving forward was superficial. So he had to continue that superficial vice through social media. He became so addicted that there was no boundaries to what he would do or say to maintain that attention. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a certified psychologist. I'm just speculating. I was so removed from what was happening that I'm actually having to go back and watch videos. And I look at myself and I realize I wasn't even there. I watched the recent video that the T showed on her channel, and I looked at myself in the background, and I looked at myself and I realized I wasn't there. I don't know if y'all have ever been in a situation where you had to zone out, where you had to remove yourself from what was going on in order to exist in the atmosphere. I don't know if y'all have ever had that experience before, but I looked at myself and I realized that I wasn't even present in the moment that I'm sitting right in front of. But my mind is waiting for this situation to be over. I'm probably thinking about food or something. I'm probably thinking about sleep. I'm probably thinking about, can I just get a moment to myself? Because 6 o'clock, first thing in the AM, the cult leader's on the line, talking in the phone about nothing. Even in jail, wants to know how many people in the room. You sick. Something's wrong with your mind. If you want to know how many people in the room and you in jail, who cares how many people is in the room? You got bigger fish to fry. I feel like the cult leader has a deep fear of being forgotten. The only reason people are even paying attention now is for two things. When are those women gonna leave? And when is he going to jail? How long is he gonna go to jail? That's the only reason people are paying attention. Ain't nobody paying attention to, ain't nobody looking for no next astrology download. Ain't nobody looking for no melanin. Ain't nobody looking for no biology. Ain't nobody looking for none of that. The only reason people is paying attention at this moment is when are them women gonna leave and how long is you going to jail for? That's it. Once those two things have occurred, you will be forgotten and you will be remembered as a fake messiah. The cult leader appears to be a grown man, but displays the characteristics of a little boy. And looking back at it from this angle that I'm at, I'm like, wow, you never really know somebody's mental state and their development just by looking at them. Age and maturity are not congruent. The cult leader, because of his poor leadership, did not afford the proper recalibration time. You can't just work a person and have a person stimulated to that degree without them declining. We were trying to say, and I watched the videos in Tanisha, and y'all, I'm just now seeing how skinny Tanisha was in Puerto Rico. And we're saying that she has an inability to face her demons. But the truth of the matter is that If Tanisha declined when she got there, isn't it something wrong with the environment and the person she's engaging with rather than her? Because she didn't have these issues prior to coming. Tanisha was sick. Because she was getting no time to herself. And time to yourself in the cult, because the cult leader likely has abandonment issues, time to yourself in his mind meant something negative. It was an indication to him that you may be second guessing what you're doing. But have y'all ever been in a relationship with somebody that made you feel bad for wanting time to yourself, and they became insecure thinking that you must be talking to somebody else? But the truth of the matter is you just wanted to watch a movie by yourself. Everybody, I don't care how much you love somebody, you need time and space to yourself. But in the cult, that was not allowed. You did not have the proper amount of time to yourself, and the whole one mind, one self thing was basically an opportunity for the cult leader to assert whatever it is he wanted to do and make you feel like you were some type of a rebellious entity when you had any opposing thoughts. But yeah, being able to maneuver, and I got that back when the cult leader went to jail. When the cult leader went to jail, I found myself eating an absurd amount of food. I never seen myself eat that much food to the point where I felt like something was wrong with me. I was eating so much food. And I realized that my body was trying to pull in the amount of energy. We didn't realize we were sleep deprived, y'all. We didn't realize we was nutrient deficient. We didn't realize that, y'all. We didn't understand that. But that's one thing I noticed when the cult leader went to jail, is how much I was eating. I was eating a lot. And I look back at my videos and I'm like, why is my face so skinny? I had never been I ain't never been a big dude, but I ain't never been a frail dude. I've always been able to do push-ups, pull-ups, run in the military, sit-ups. I was in the military for 8 years. I ain't never been no frail dude. And now I'm looking at my body like, oh yeah, because I was so small, I look big to myself now. And I'm like, yeah, this is how I usually look. I'm like, why is my face sunk in? Why my head look so skinny? I know I ain't never been no big dude because I ain't got no big people on either side of my family. I ain't got no big people on my mama's side. Ain't no big people on my daddy's side. But I ain't never been like this. I look like a thin crust pizza. Why I look like? Why am I thin? Why am I so thin? It's one thing to be thin, but it's another thing to look like weakly. You understand? You could be thin and still be healthy. But when you look weakly, I was like, no, boy, I need a hamburger or something, boy. You can't sit up here and disregard the fact that people get worse when they get there and they get better when they leave. But come on, man. People get worse when they get there. Look at videos of Tanisha when she first got there and before she came, and watch her decline. And the only reason they look like something now because he ain't there. The only reason Tanisha's still there, the only reason she ain't screamed and ran up the street since is because he ain't there. They actually getting a break. It's actually easier for them to stay there now because he ain't there. I guarantee if he was still there, Tanisha would have tried to run again and would have been screaming up the road again. So it's not even a matter of if. It's just a matter of when. It's a matter of when will they wake up. Somebody said, what if he get out? And I'll entertain it. I entertain the possibility that he gets out. But let's address the reality, because we ain't dealing with la la fairy tale land. 1, this is the state of Georgia. 2, the lady that's prosecuting Mr. Bishop has already prosecuted 2 people on similar offenses to life in prison. And she's an assistant DA. She's an assistant DA. When somebody indicts you, it is a good indication that they have enough evidence to move forward with a trial. Mr. Bishop has hundreds of videos against his own case. He has hours of phone conversations recorded on a jail line against his own case. And I'm just gonna mention her name briefly, but I want to be sensitive, and I'm not gonna mention her name because she might not even want to be pulled into this. But y'all know who I'm talking about. The victim, I'm gonna refer to her as the victim because I don't want to bring her name into it if she don't want to be involved in this, because she might need some time to breathe. But the victim, you can't use the victim's prior history as a means to discredit the potential that the act actually occurred. The cult leader is attempting to bond on the premise that he's not a flight risk, which in fact he is a flight risk because he's known to travel across foreign countries. 2, the attempt to contact the witness has already been shown and captured on a phone conversation. 3, is the cult leader a danger to the community? Yes. The cult leader is a danger to anybody he comes in contact with because he has an inability to take accountability for the things that he's done, which means that he's likely to do it again. And because the cult leader's bond has been denied multiple times before and nothing has changed, why would the judge then therefore grant a bond, but the premises have nothing has changed? So it would make the state of Georgia look bad giving a bond to someone who has been denied bond multiple times before, and the situation to grant the bond is not even warranted. Let's say by some grand possibility he does get out. I don't care. That don't mess with me because I'm just gonna say this. I'm not the same dude you was dealing with before. You leave me alone, I leave you alone. But I'm not gonna, I no longer feel compelled to defend you because it's the truth. You leave me alone, I leave you alone. That's it. I'm not gonna defend you though. I'm not gonna not say nothing. I'm gonna say as much as I need to say for as long as I want to say it. And the bondage is no longer there. It wasn't you. It was me that was keeping me there. And the thing about it is, the cult members, they have to go out their way to discredit what people are saying. If it's not true, then you would stand firm in what it is that you're actually doing. But if you notice, every time a cult member, ex-cult member speaks out, the current, you seen me do it. It's a part of the script. If what the cult members were saying were absolutely not true, then you would have no need to go out of your way and stray away from what it is you're teaching to discredit what that person's saying. Every time somebody says something, they have to discredit that person. But if what that person was saying was in fact not true, then you would stand firm in what it is you're doing and let everything come to the light on its own. So they have to say things like everybody turned their back on their Messiah. If I don't want to be in a relationship with you, why does that have to be a why is that turning my back on you? You lucky we stayed this long. You lucky we stayed this long. You lucky we stayed this long. A relationship shouldn't be forced. If that environment was truly a loving environment, it would be, the response would be something like this. We know the path is hard, and we know that people are struggling, and we wish them the best, and that would be the end of it. But the cult has to discredit people because they know that what they're saying is true. And the cult doesn't have any specifics. They put everybody that leaves underneath the same umbrella. Disloyal, turn their back, cowards. You say the same thing. I'll be glad when everybody leaves because the truth needs to be told. It just needs to be told. Like, it actually rots your soul to lie over and over again. It rots your soul to lie. Why am I bad? Why everybody that leave is a bad person because they finally decided to tell the truth? It's not, they think, because they're so narcissistic, they think that it's about them. I'm doing this for my own soul because I don't want to lie no more. God dang. Everybody that leaves is reduced to a bad person because telling the truth makes y'all look bad. Telling the truth makes the cult look bad. But we shouldn't have been doing it. We shouldn't have been doing it. I feel like people who felt powerless their whole life, once they get a taste of power, it consumes them. Power is supposed to be introduced gradually. I feel like the cult leader, because he felt powerless his whole life, I'm speculating. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a certified psychologist. I'm just speculating. I feel like the cult leader, there's no way he had any real power in his life. And that small drop of power corrupted him. Yeah, I feel like power was the drug, Vessel Brand. I feel like power and the need for attention, because only somebody that's insecure has to go out of their way to validate who they are. But the only reason I'm saying that, Lamp, is because I recall how confident we were in what we were saying, but we didn't have any substantial evidence or any personal experience. We were just searching on Google. Anybody can do that. With so much information on the internet, anybody can go online and find something that tells them they're right. And that's what we were doing. But these women are reciting a script that is in pieces. Notice the pieces. It's the same pieces over and over again. And you have to understand, these women feel like they're going to be nobodies if they stop talking about the cult. They feel like they're going to go, this is the most attention they've ever gotten in their life, and they feel like they're going to be nobodies. You know, it's the same rhetoric about white supremacy. False allegations. They keep saying false allegations. Innocent man. They keep saying things like that. But y'all are not. Y'all are acting like y'all don't see the complete picture. You're trying to funnel people into these things that make the cult leader look innocent. But there's There's too much on the internet, y'all. Y'all act like people don't, you act like you might be limited to a box, but people on the outside looking in, they have free range. That's one thing about y'all. When you're not in the cult, you have free range to look at the cult leader in as many ways as you so choose. You can go over here, you can go over there, but those women are restricting themselves to a box, refusing to look at the cult leader as a complete person, acting like people don't know he's abusive out loud and behind the scenes. And I'm not even going to go into, I'm not going to speak for Porsche. I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to speak for Jayon. I'm not going to speak for Kayla. I'm not going to speak for Tanisha, because I'm looking forward to them speaking their story and letting that situation go. I can't wait for Tanisha to tell what really happened. I can't wait for Aya to tell how she really feels. I can't wait for Kayla to tell what really happened. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for them to finally cry it out. I can't wait for them to let release that experience, because there's something beautiful waiting for them on the other side. Hey, it's ironic that the ones abused the most are the last ones to remain. That's usually how it goes. And it's gonna be and see, y'all are watching this because it could have been your sister. This is somebody's sister. This ain't Aya and Ephraim. This is somebody's daughter. See, y'all can turn it off. That's one thing that hit me about my family and the impact I had on my family. Y'all can turn it off. Y'all can go back to y'all lives. But Kayla mama can't. Aya's sister can't. Tanisha's family can't. They can't turn this off. Y'all can be like, I'm tired of this. These folk crazy. I'm going, I ain't watching no more. But since the day they left, their family can't turn this off. And shout out for y'all for being empathetic while we're trying to write y'all off as being nosy. If I'm even involved in it, I'm not about to act like I don't care. I want to know if the state of Georgia, if it's going to bring justice. I want to know if the last women there are going to leave. I want to know. I'm not just about to act like I'm just moving on. I don't care no more. I want to know. I want to know. And it'll be a great day for me for this to finally be over with. It's not funny. Stockholm Syndrome. I realized that too, Aquarius. I got Stockholm Syndrome. Or I had Stockholm Syndrome. As much as we was talking about, everything we was talking about, y'all, we was doing it. And we had it. We was actually creating generational curses by separating women from their kids. Isn't Aya's son a black man? Well, he don't have his mother, thanks to this cult leader. Isn't Tanisha's son a black man? Well, he don't have his mother,